Hello everyone. In the last two presentations, the various aspects of the freedom of speech and expression guaranteed under Article 19(1)(a) and the restrictions that can be imposed on this right under Article 19(2) have been dealt with. In this presentation, an attempt would be made to explain the freedoms guaranteed under subclauses B, C, D and E of Clause 1 of Article 19 and the restrictions that can be imposed on the exercise of these freedoms as provided under Clauses 3 to 5 of Article 19. Article 19(1)(b) guarantees to all citizens of India the right to assemble peaceably, which includes the right to hold meetings and to take out processions. This right is subject to certain limitations. The assembly has to be unarmed and peaceful. If it is riotous in character, it is not peaceful. In addition, under Clause 3 of Article 19, the state is empowered to impose reasonable restrictions on this freedom of assembly as may be necessary in the interest of public order or the sovereignty and integrity of India. Public meetings are intended to educate the public and help them in forming their own opinion on religious, political, economic or social problems, and hence freedom of assembly is an essential element in a democratic government. Like other individual rights, it is not absolute but relative. Thus, the holding of public meetings which are not lawful may be prevented if, in the opinion of an appropriate authority, such action is necessary. The Supreme Court in Babulal Parathe versus State said public order has to be maintained in advance in order to ensure it, and therefore it is competent to a legislature to pass a law permitting an appropriate authority to take preventive action or place anticipatory restrictions upon particular kinds of acts in an emergency for the purpose of maintaining public order. The expression public order has to be understood in the sense of public peace, safety, and tranquility. The law regulating public meetings in the interest of public order is saved if the restrictions imposed are not unreasonable. Under Section 187 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, an assembly of 5 or more persons becomes unlawful if the common object of the persons constituting the assembly is to commit any of the acts mentioned in the section. Under the same section, it is an offence for an assembly not to disperse after a lawful command to do so has been given by a police officer or a magistrate. The state can prohibit a public meeting likely to promote sedition or cause disturbance of public tranquility under the Prevention of Seditious Meetings Act. The Indian Constitution does not guarantee any general right to carry arms, and restrictions can be imposed on possession of arms under the Arms Act. The police officers have the power to issue licenses defining the conditions on which assemblies or processions should take place so as to avert a disturbance of the public peace and disperse any assembly or procession conducting itself contrary to the conditions of the license under the Police Act. They are also bound to maintain order on the public streets in the neighborhood of places of worship during the time of worship. In case of emergency, certain specified class of magistrates have power to issue orders under Section 163 of the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, that is Section 144 of the Criminal Procedure Code, imposing restrictions on holding public meetings. In Himatlal K. Shah versus Commissioner of Police, the Supreme Court held that the power to regulate under the Bombay Police Act would include the power to give prior permission to be obtained for holding assemblies or processions. This is necessary to regulate the conduct and behavior or action of persons constituting such assemblies or processions in order to safeguard the rights of citizens and in order to preserve public order. However, no rule can be prescribed prohibiting all meetings or processions. The state can only make regulations in aid of the right of assembly of each citizen and can impose reasonable restrictions in the interest of public order. The right to take out processions is implicit in the right of freedom of assembly, but It should be done without obstructing the general public user and subject to restrictions imposed by the state. Coming to freedom of association, Article 19(1)(c) declares that all citizens shall have the freedom to form associations or unions. This right includes the right to continue it. The freedom to establish associations also implies the negative right of not joining associations or unions. The right to form associations does not involve the right to achieve the objects for which an association was formed. The right to form associations implies that several individuals come together and form voluntarily an association with a common aim, legitimate purpose, and having a community of interest. The right to form associations also implies that the persons forming an association have the right to continue to be associated with only those who they voluntarily admit in the association. This right can be effective only if it is held to include within it the right to continue the association with its composition as voluntarily agreed upon by the persons forming the association. Thus, the right to form association includes the right to its continuance. There is no breach of this freedom where the government, under the rules relating to the service, is entitled to terminate the employment of an employee if the termination is made for the reason that the employee is a member of a political party. The interpretation is that since the employee is not prevented from being a member of the political party, there is no violation of Article 19(1)(c) if, in consequence of his being a member of the political party, he loses his service. The right of association, like other individual freedoms, is not absolute. Clause 4 of Article 19 empowers the state to impose reasonable restrictions on the exercise of freedom of association and unions in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, public order and morality. The expression public order means public peace, safety and tranquility. The right to form associations or unions has a wide and varied scope, including all sorts of associations, be it political parties, clubs, societies, companies, organizations, partnerships, trade unions, and every body of persons. There is complete liberty of association under the existing Indian law for any lawful object, provided it does not infringe any particular statutory provision. Articles 19(1)(a), B, and C are interconnected and uphold the freedoms of the citizens to raise slogans against the government, to assemble peacefully, and to form associations. The exercise of these freedoms can be curtailed by the government by imposing reasonable restrictions only when it is likely to result in breach of peace or endanger public tranquility. Coming to freedom of movement, Article 19(1)(d) guarantees to a citizen the right to move freely throughout the territory of India. The right to move means the right of locomotion, and the word freely denotes that the freedom to move is without restriction and is absolute. That is, to move wherever one likes, whenever one likes, and however one likes, subject to any valid law enacted under Clause 5 of Article 19. This also implies the freedom of all citizens to go wherever they like in the territory of India without any kind of restriction whatsoever. They can move not merely from one state to another state, but also from one place to another within the same state. Clause 5 of Article 19 empowers the states to make laws imposing reasonable restrictions on the freedom of movement in the interest of general public or for the protection of the interest of scheduled tribes. Externment or internment orders, that is, orders requiring a person to leave a certain area or not to enter a certain area or not to leave a certain area, would restrict the freedom guaranteed in Clause 1D. Hence, a law authorizing externment or internment to be valid has to fall within the limits of permissible legislation in Clause 5, namely, restrictions must be reasonable and in the interest of general public or for the protection of the interest of the scheduled tribes. The interests of general public include public security, public order, and public morality. In Rahmat Khan versus State, the Supreme Court held that the drastic action of externment should only be taken in exceptional cases to maintain law and order in a locality and to prevent breach of public tranquility and peace. Similarly, restrictions can be imposed on movement and traveling to prevent or control epidemics. Of the existing Indian laws, the Official Secrets Act is an instance of restriction on the free movement imposed in the interest of the general public. Under the Act, a person is denied access to prohibited places, and the expression prohibited places has been defined under Section 2 of the Act. A person who approaches, inspects, passes over, or is in the vicinity of or enters any prohibited place commits an offence under the Act. These restrictions are necessary for the preservation of the security of the state. The second group of restrictions is to protect the interests of scheduled tribes. This is incorporated to protect aboriginal tribes in India, which are mostly settled in Assam. Scheduled tribes are a class backward, though they have their own distinctive culture, language, customs, and manners. An uncontrolled mixing of the tribes with the people of other sections is likely to produce undesirable effect upon the unsophisticated tribal people, and hence it was considered necessary to empower the state to impose restrictions upon the entry of outsiders to areas inhabited by tribes. Freedom of residence. Clause E of Article 19(1) guarantees freedom of residence. This clause removes internal barriers within the territory of India and enables every citizen to travel freely and settle down in any part of the state or union territory. This freedom is also subject to reasonable restrictions imposable under Article 19(5) in the interest of general public or for the protection of the interests of any scheduled tribe. The expression interests of the public used in Article 19(5) has the same meaning as that of the expression in the public interest. Though it may not cover the interests of people of whole of India, it may provide for the interests of a limited class or limited area. Reasonable restrictions on the right to free movement and residence can be imposed on habitual offenders. Reasonable restrictions are also permitted in the interests of the protection of scheduled tribes. The freedom of property, which was guaranteed under Article 19(1)(f) and was subject to reasonable restrictions imposable under Clause 5 of Article 19, has been deleted by the 44th Amendment to the Constitution in 1978. The freedom of property is therefore no longer a fundamental right, but only a legal right, as it has been included as Article 300A by the very same constitutional amendment, that is the 44th Amendment. Thus, the right to property will be available against the executive interference but not against legislative interference. That is, the executive cannot deprive a person of his property without the authority of a state-made law. This, in brief, is about the freedoms of assembly, association, movement, and residence guaranteed under Article 19(1)(b), (c), (d), and (e) respectively. Freedom of trade and occupation guaranteed under Article 19(1)(g) will be dealt with in the next presentation. Thank you.